Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen. This is Mujib Qazi and you're watching Washington Roundtable powered by VOKTV. I'm joined by a very special guest with us today, Dr. Jalil Khan, who is joining us live. He has served as the president of PAC and has been very active recently. We've seen him engaging with the congregational delegations, senators, congressmen, have made several trips back and forth to Washington. And obviously, there have been some progress that we will talk about, but we will primarily discuss the overall development that took place today and that basically surprises all today. All the democratic and the protocols of the presidential meeting was broken today, and finally um, I will call a self-proclaimed Field Marshal of Pakistan met today, President of United States of America today, and that was something that was unheard of. Not sure what to make out of this whole scenario. There are three dynamics that people are looking into it. We have seen Netanyahu speaking about changing regime over and over. He have mentioned in his um, speeches and recently, and then all of a sudden we saw he was claiming that he need to change the regime in Iran, and we have seen in past 3 years that the regime was changed in Pakistan. Some people think that starting from Iraq, going from Iraq to Syria, Syria to Libya to Iran to Pakistan. I think that they have already made a change of regime in Pakistan and now they are after Iran. So this whole developing story we will talk about with Dr. Jalil Khan. How do you see this whole situation that is developing at the regional and a global stage, Dr. Jalil?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for having me. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. आपका बहुत शुक्रिया आपका बुलाने का. I was looking through the history, and there were three field marshals or chief marshal administrators that were catered at White House. First was Ayub with Kennedy, and second was actually three. Yeah, second was Ziaul Haq with Ronald Reagan, and third was Musharraf with George Bush. But the difference was they all were president because they were chief marshal administrator, and they made the change in the constitution and they became president. And this is the only chief marshal administrator. Actually, he's a de facto administrator because he has this camouflage of democracy, touts puppets in front of him who does not do a move of a step before they ask him what to do next, And he was catered, or he was welcomed in White House. This shows the needs of United States, how far they want to go to bring a regime change in Iran at the behest of Israel, most likely. And this is how they want to have backing in Pakistan so they can share intelligence and stuff like that. So I think this is very alarming to many people in Pakistan. This happened when I think war on terror many years ago, 20 years ago, when the President George Bush called Musharraf, either you are with us or against us, and he said, yes sir, we are with you. And so it started with 70,000 lives were lost in the last 15 years after that, and Pakistan served the most precarious security situations there. And then I think it's like we are starting that all over again, being a proxy of a superpower and fighting their wars. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong here, but what it looks like, what I gather is, because this army chief is not accountable or answerable to anybody in Pakistan. There's no law applied to him. He's not answerable to anybody. So whatever he talked or he did, only he and his close allies would know in Pakistan. Nobody else would know. So that is what my concern is, that we may be entering in another war, which I hope it's not the case.
Well, obviously, President Trump have to cut his trip short in the G7 session in Canada. He has to come back, and he has been talking about in the past 5 6 months that he want to be known as a president of peace. But all of a sudden, his narrative changed, and he has been threatening Iran, to surrender. And his tweet was that we have taken over the airspace of Iran and what have you. So basically, U.S. pretty much is already in the war, and at that particular moment, Pakistan Army Chief meeting, who is just, you rightly alluded to it, that he is not head of the state, he is in no capacity, runs the in official capacity runs the country, but obviously, call it and more like a mafia style, that he is head of, he has the power, and the power talks to powers. And understandably, that I think that might have been the reason. So does that brings me to the question that do you think at this time Pakistan is going to side with Israel or Iran? Because it looks like from the short statement that we captured from President Trump's view, he said that we are, he understand and we understand, and we both understand. So obviously, it was a diplomatic language that was used, but it appears to be the case that for the 75 years that we have been hearing this narrative, that the founder of Pakistan have clearly mentioned that he will not recognize unless the two-state solution has been presented. However, this situation totally changed. Do you think coming back to the question, in your view, do you think Pakistan is going to side with Iran or Israel?
Mujib, the first thing that bothers me is the meeting held in closed doors. Media had no access. Whenever US president meets with the head of state, it is always open and the media is there, they answer the questions. Here, the meeting held in complete away from the media, and there has to be something which were demanded of Pakistan to either side with USA if the war breaks out, or provide some bases or some intelligence. I don't know, maybe, but I think if Pakistan sides with USA, that means it's siding with Israel. To be very frank, so I think Asim Munir has to take his steps very seriously. He needs to understand the emotions of Pakistani people. He needs to understand this is not 90s and this is not 80s either. Everything is on social media, which he thinks it's against Pakistan. He doesn't like social media, so he doesn't like the truth actually that comes out. So basically, the human rights and political freedoms are being squashed in Pakistan, and the sole power is his basically, and he's not answerable to anybody. The judiciary is maimed; it has no legs to stand on, and that is why I think it is a very dangerous situation developing again in Pakistan, and they have gone through a lot. And I hope I'm wrong again. I'm saying it again, but I think it doesn't happen, but it looks like it's going to happen.
So we're going to divert from Middle East to the politics at home. You have worked very hard bringing those resolution to the Congress, where we wanted to restore the democracy in the country, human rights, and obviously upheld of the Constitution of Pakistan. Where do you think will that lead us up to? Because the dynamics have apparently changed.
We've been trying hard for the last 3 years. We have been to Washington numerous times. We have done multiple days on the Hill. We have engaged Congress, senators, and they all agree with us for the values which America stands on: human rights, political freedoms, democratic principles. But when it comes to the lobbying, we don't have that much power with which a state has power. So we are just a small Pakistani diaspora though we worked hard, we engaged everybody, and they principally agree with us. They have written numerous letters, they have endorsed numerous letters that uh, Pakistan should have a free and fair elections. But when it comes to implement that, then the power grabbing and the power mafia shows up, and they I think there's a discrepancy there, in especially in congressional views also, because when it comes to implement those, it doesn't happen. And that I've seen that. I've seen with my eyes for the last 3 years. They totally agreed with us, but when it comes to implement, because they think in closed doors, they have told us it is easy to call a dictator or army general and get things done. This is the sentence. This is the right sentence they used. That it is easy for us to call a general and get things done. We will never go against them if they are listening to us.
Hmm.
That is where
So
we stand.
that's where we stand at this time, and hopefully, you see, ultimately, like I said, that the situation changes on a global stage on a daily basis. So we don't know what will happen next and how the dynamics will change. And as Imran Khan has always said, that the change comes from within the country. So the people in Pakistan need to rise up and then stand up for their own rights, because they are the primary party that are suffering at this time. That brings me to the next question, that some portion of the diaspora in the US has been divided, and some of them have been out there today, even trying to claim self-claimed leaders of diaspora, and trying to participate in the reception, and then they have been making a big noise on the social media. On one hand, that they have been proclaiming as a champion of democracy, human rights. On the other hand, they are siding with a dictator who has packed up the Supreme Court of Pakistan. Constitution has completely been tarnished, not answerable to anyone, and 16,000 people have been incarcerated. Just like in Israel, 55,000 people have been slaughtered, even the young kids. Similar situation in Pakistan, the people who were peacefully protesting, they were shot to death on their faces. All of that, if you consider that, and then still these people going out there and trying to take picture, they couldn't get the picture taken with him, but at the same time, they're making the noise that as if they are the leader. Um, do you think that is a height of hypocrisy on their side?
Mujib bhai, just look at that. We living in this country for 30 years. We love the democratic principles here. We love the First Amendment right. We love the Fifth Amendment rights. We love the law and order works here. But when it comes to back home, we go ahead and dictate. I mean, we support the dictator over there. And then this is the irony of the situation. We don't want those rights to be given to Pakistanis. We don't want those freedoms to be given to Pakistanis, but we enjoy it here. And when I think all of these people who choose to support a dictator have betrayed Pakistanis, to be very frank. That is the word I would use. I think they all have financial incentives. Their businesses in Pakistan, they don't want it to be ruined, so they only go for those incentives. They have no affiliation with a democracy or democratic principles of freedom of speech. They don't give a damn about it. That is what it is, and that is why they are ecstatic right now that the chief of army staff is meeting the principal, meeting the president. It is a matter of shame, not a matter of joy or being proud. So that is what my concern is. We don't have a civil government in Pakistan. We don't have a civil leader in Pakistan. So that chief of army staff has to come and meet the president behind closed doors. So these are all. This is, as you have said, this is the height of hypocrisy, that we enjoy the freedoms here and we don't want those freedoms to be established in Pakistan.
You have bring me. That should have been my last question, but I'm going to ask a subsequent question about. We don't have a civic leader back in home. General himself, in his speech, one of the journalists who was in the meeting, in the reception, and he was being interviewed by MJTV in Pakistan, Matiullah Jan, and that's where he said, and I quote, General, in his speech, he said, somebody asked that, how is your relationship with the civil government? He said, even dogs are running the country, I will be on their side. Look at the level of IQ that this man has, using the words for the civil. Um, how do you take that remarks from him, Dr. Saab?
Because he has the power. He's running the show here. Nobody moves in and out of Pakistan if he is not willing to let them in. And there's no government, there's no law. There's whatever a colonel says today that this car is parked in front of my office, that becomes the law. Tomorrow that car will be parked somewhere else, that will become a law. So these laws changes every day. Every day a colonel or a major, whatever he says becomes a law. And they run the National Assembly. There's an office of army in a National Assembly. Without their approval, no legislation is done, nothing has been accomplished. That is what the irony is, that we just have not come out of the hybrid system of 70 years, which has been failed over multiple times. We have, in our medicine, we do studies and we see this medicine doesn't work, it has some side effects, this medicine has been very beneficial to the patient, so we do studies if something happens. Pakistan has done with the hybrid system for so long, and they have not done any studies that this system is failing, that has failed miserably multiple times, but they're still going to work with the hybrid system because army cannot let go. That is the whole bottom line.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. As the situation in Middle East is still developing, and let's see what the news come out from this meeting. Most of us probably will never know that what actual meeting discussion took place today at the White House behind the closed door. That's what Imran Khan has been always opposed to. That everything that you discuss has to be open, and public should know it, because if you're truly representing people. So obviously he claims that he represents Pakistan, and we don't know what will happen. Maybe 30, 40 years down the road, when the meeting minutes are disclosed and it become declassified, by then it will be too late. Just like after 30, 40 years, we are getting to see the memos and the discussion that took place between, uh, you know, Field Marshal Ayub Khan and Yahya Khan and all those people, and then end up losing half of the country, which was like 55% of it. So I'm going to have to end the show right there, Dr. Saab. Thank you so much for being on the show, and we will ask you to come back and share your opinion and expert opinion on the developing story that taking place in Middle East, and see how Pakistan behaves.
Thank you so much for having me. It was nice talking to you, and I hope I could explain myself better. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being on the show. Assalamu alaikum.